Hey folks, today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about guns, gun safety, gun charges. Um, I hear things on television. I hear the vice president talking about stricter gun controls, and you hear all the slogans. You hear the four guns. Obviously, you have an amendment right to bear arms. If you're not a convicted felon, then you can have a firearm. Over the weekend, actually on Thanksgiving, which was today's Monday, Thanksgiving was Thursday, two young men at the gym where I've done some volunteer coaching, the boxing gym, were involved in some altercation. Now, I don't know all the facts of it. I know both of these young men. The first gentleman, Daryl, was a young man who came to me, contacted me, and asked me to corner a fight for him. So I know him as a boxer. I've had some conversations with him. He's recently had his girlfriend or his wife had a baby, and I cornered his fight. Unfortunately, he lost his fight, and I was trying to give him some tips on things that he could do to become a better fighter. Stan is classy, is Stan's last name, and that's how he explained it to me, because I said, "Well, Stan," and he goes, "No, easy way to remember it is Stan is classy, but instead of a Y at the end, there's an E." So Stan always had a smile on his face. Stan was a boxer. He also volunteered in the boxing gym, coaching other young men and others even older than him, sort of giving advice. The first time I met Stan, it's weird, I actually met him a couple times. Stan had come to my house for the 4th of July because one of the other coaches had brought him along, and I didn't remember. There were so many people, but he was one of the guys that got into the sumo outfit that we had rented, and everyone was having a fun time. You run and you bump into each other. And what I remember about Stan is that he was classy. He was just a guy that always had a smile on his face. I came into the gym one day, and he was working with a young man named Ricari, a younger guy that I started coaching in boxing. And, obviously I had been coaching him. And sometimes, you have issues, like if one coach starts to tell your fighter how to do something and you tell him a different way. But instead of being that kind of guy, because I've seen that in boxing over my 17 years of boxing, I just sat and watched. I just sat back. And afterwards, the fighter came over to me, and Ricari said something to the fact of like, "Hey, Stan was showing me some stuff," and instead of me going, "No, don't do it that way," I actually said to Ricari, I said, "Ricari, there's nothing for you to say. That guy was showing you something that I didn't know how to do, and the other things that he was showing you were 100% correct." So I automatically knew Stan knew boxing. As I, kept going to the gym and having conversations routinely with Stan, and Daryl, and Ricari, and Angel, and all the different guys at the gym, I learned that, that Stan had aspirations of coaching, of doing some boxing. But what he was also doing is he was getting his education. He had taken some computer courses and was certified in fixing computer problems. So he told me, look, he goes, "I only have a couple licenses." I think he said 2 or 3. "But if I can ever help you with anything, I know you're a lawyer." And I said, "Stan, I will keep your information in mind." And lo and behold, a case came up, and I needed someone to put software on a computer and coordinate with probation and making sure the program worked, it was compatible, it worked, he could track it, he could explain it. And I ultimately had the client, hire Stan to deal with this computer issue. Well, additionally, my assistant had Christina had a problem with her computer, and Stan came in and fixed that. He couldn't fix it right at the office. He took it home, brought it back the next day, charged her, I think, $50, and got the problem resolved. So Stan was one of those guys. He didn't BS you. He said if he said he could help you, he did it. He charged a nominal fee. But again, he was a big boxing guy. Everybody in the boxing gym knew him. He would always come by I think he just volunteered kind of like I did. He, got some practice. He sparred with different guys. And I don't know, I've heard everything secondhand. But two of these guys apparently got into some issue, at least allegedly, regarding sparring. And Stan was a very good boxer. I mean, he knew his angles. He knew how to move. He knew how to slip punches. He knew how to throw punches correctly. And Daryl was sort of a guy who was a tough guy, but when you talk to him, he kind of was like a gentle giant, so to speak. But it's weird. As I coached Daryl through his fight and a couple of times afterwards in the gym, he was a guy that was kind of stuck on doing it his own way, and I understand that. I'm a very stubborn guy, but ultimately, these two guys had some sparring matches, and coach trying to teach pupil or student, however you want to call it. They had some sparring sessions, and from what I hear, Stan got the best of it, and that's what I would imagine, because he just had a lot more experience and he was really a good fighter. They had some arguments about that and some kind of feud, and that's what I'm reading in the newspaper. And then apparently there was some allegation of talking to some young lady at a restaurant or club or a bar or something like that, and a fight broke out. And from what everyone's telling me, again, I don't know, folks, but what I know is that I'm sad. Stan Stanisclasse was murdered on Thanksgiving morning at about 5 a.m. On Thanksgiving morning, I just had breakfast with friends and family, and I was taking a moment, and I just started to look at my Facebook, and I saw it, and like, it was almost shocking. Like, I was like, this can't be right. Like, what am I missing? And it, news reports, there was nothing in the news. There was just little things on Facebook, and so I called Angel at the gym, and he told me, this is what he's heard, and they have a fight. They end up in some kind of fight. And 30 minutes later, allegedly, and you guys know I'm a defense attorney, but these are two young men that I know, allegedly they had a fight. Stan ended the fight, knocked Daryl down, and said, hey man, I don't want to fight you. I don't want to fight you over boxing. I don't want to fight with you over a girl. Dude, just stay away from me. And he left. And he left with, his roommate. They get home, and apparently about 30 minutes later, there's a knock on the door, and they say, Stan says, show me your hip. Basically, it says, show me that you don't have a gun, like, I'll talk to you. And my understanding is there's some statements that Daryl said, look, I'm just here to, to squash things, to fix it. Like, I don't want to fight with you. And so Stan opened the door, and again, these are all second, third, fourth, fifth recants, so they're all hearsay, folks. But what was shared with me was that Daryl put a gun into the door, or right at the door, and shot Stan right in the face and killed him. And I got to tell you, I'm one of those guys that, like, everyone should be able to have a gun, but folks, we need to value life. I've shed tears a couple times, 5, 10 times over the weekend, thinking about this. Stan Stanisclasse is dead. He was a guy that had so much potential. I didn't even realize how young he was. He was mentally, he was way advanced to be 23, 24 years old. I thought the guy was like 30. I never asked his age. He was just a guy that was, working hard, come to the gym, volunteer, do some boxing, do his computer stuff. Just a nice guy to talk to. And Daryl was a guy that was trying to learn to box, that was struggling financially, that was working, that, I held his baby. He just had a newborn baby, so I had met, whether it's his wife or his girlfriend, his fiance, I had met her at a fight. I never would have thought this. Now, people go, oh, it's the boxing, it's the element. No, there's wonderful people in boxing. I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know what happened. What could send one young man to a point where he was so disgusted and so angry that he would go, to a coach's house, to a fellow boxer's house, and shoot him in the face. I'm so overwhelmed. And look, I don't even know either of these guys that well. So when I hear about gun control now, and look, the people who are carrying, concealed weapons license, they're not the ones that are committing crimes. They're not the ones that are openly shooting people. Now, obviously, it happens, but yeah, you should be able to have a gun. But there's got to be classes on life, on what the value of life is. When you pull a trigger and you aim it at someone's face and you shoot them in the face, you know that they're going to die. No one can take a bullet to the face and survive. And even though I don't know of him, I'm first thing and most of all, I'm praying for Stan Stanisclasse's family. His mother, his father, his brothers, his sisters, his cousins, his friends, everybody who, they just have to be devastated. How do you wake up on Thanksgiving morning and find out that your family, your friend, has been murdered, has been shot in the head? It's so depressing to me. And then on the other hand, this young man who, trying to figure out his life, who just had a baby, his girlfriend or whatever, wife just had a baby, and now he's probably never going to see that baby again because he's going to be in prison for the rest of his life. It's just so overwhelming, folks. Listen, when you get into a fight about something, like, put it in perspective. If someone says something about your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, like, it's words. If someone embarrasses you, prove them wrong in another way. But my God, like, pulling a gun and shooting someone in the face. Again, I told you the facts as I know it. I'm so devastated, folks. This is a terrible day for boxing, a terrible day for the people of Palm Beach County. I don't even know what to say. I pray for Stan's family, for his friends, for his loved ones, for people that knew him. The kid always had a smile on his face. He was always polite. He was always respectful. He was just a nice guy. When you met him, you just went, "That's a nice guy." And now he's gone. And Daryl, maybe you knew Daryl had some issues, but I didn't know what his issues were. I knew that he was stubborn and he was hard-headed and he wanted to be better, but he was stuck in the way he was doing things. And ultimately, I quit training him because he quit showing up. And then I saw him and he's like, "Hey, I'm just, I'm sorry." And, at least he acknowledged. He said, "Hey, I appreciate your help. I'm just gonna, kind of do it my own way." And okay. And sometimes he would come over and say, "Hey, can I help you? Can you help me with this?" And I'd have Ricari, do work with him on jabs and stuff so he could be better. Just a sad, sad situation, folks. Life is too short. Respect life, respect others, respect firearms. I don't even know what to say. I'm depressed by the whole thing. Stan, rest in peace, my friend. God bless you.